Me. Amazing panel here. Quite a lot of accomplishments, both in athletics and in business. And so we're going to jump right into it. Carr, tell us a little bit about how Los Linderos came to be, the story of your idea and how you brought it to market. And then, of course, how you brought these three guys into the mix.
Yeah, so, actually I had a huge passion for bourbon. In fact, Coach and I came here about 4 years ago. 4 years ago to meet with a gentleman that owns Sazerac. And basically what we learned from that meeting, an all-day meeting, was that if we wanted bourbon, we should have told him 7 years previously. Bourbon takes at least 7 to 15 years to age. Tequila, it takes 7 years to grow agave, fully ripened and mature. But the aging process is much less. About 50% of your tequila is going to be sold as Blanco, which comes out of the still, gets proofed down and bottled. So there's no aging. The Reposado, our Reposado is aged 4 months in Jack Daniels, 2 months in French Oak. So it's a 6 months aging process. To be an añejo, you only have to be 12 months aged. To be an extra añejo, it's only 3 years. So it's a much easier, once you learn the intricacies of Mexico, it's a much easier launch. So that's where we came in.
Gotcha. And you guys have known each other from quite some time, and you brought them into the mix.
I've known Josh since 1986. Yeah, back when he was a puff cake, and I've known Coach since 2010, and Sean for at least 10 years. So
awesome. So with your tequila, Los Linderos, it is a additive-free tequila.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not a massive tequila drinker. I wasn't quite sure what that all meant. So why don't you kind of share with the audience exactly what separates your product apart from the rest? Yeah, so additive-free is the only segment in alcohol that grew last year. Everything else contracted, especially additive tequilas. What's gone on in the tequila industry is, because of the demand, a lot of tequilas and agaves are being harvested at 3.5 years or 4 years. They don't reach their full sugar content of a fully ripe 7 to 8 year old agave. Our recipe calls for a minimum of 7-year-old agave so that it's got the full sugar content. What happens with a 3.5-year-old agave is you have to add sugar, you have to add flavor, you have to add glycerin to give it the legs to come down the side. They add color. So a lot of the tequila out there today, the popular tequilas, are full of additives. So the additive-free craze, tequilamatchmaker.com, you can find the additive-free tequilas that are out there that it's truly tequila. So no hangover. What's that? No hangover. No hangover. All right, none. So keep drinking. If you've got an empty cup, go ahead, fill it up in the back. It's free, so you might as well take advantage of it. Urban, Coach Meyer, congratulations. Inducted into the National College Football Hall of Fame this month, correct? Now I didn't go to Michigan, but I did do my grad school at Tennessee, so we won't talk about your Florida days, but you did kick our ass for the entire time you were there, so well done. You've obviously been a tequila drinker, bourbon drinker, all that fun stuff. What was it about Los Linderos and the Reposado brand, or line, I should say, that kind of got your interest peaked?
What I found out is Carr's been a dear friend, family friend for a while, is that I'm not a big drinker, but I used to drink beer like everyone else. And then I got into wine. And what I found out is it's not just the wine, it's the story behind. I want to hear the story. I want to hear where it's from, why it tastes like it does, about the aging, the region it's from. And then bourbon, Carr, I would go over his house, and he has bourbon stuffed where you're supposed to have his kids' pictures. He has all this bourbon. And I just would ask questions and learn. And then I be honest with you, I couldn't stand it. And then COVID hit, and I have a couple of restaurants in Ohio, and they wanted me to do a bourbon tasting. And I invited friends that love bourbon because I couldn't stand it. But then I went to Buffalo Trace on a trip, and it changed. Because once again, I want to hear the story. When I start seeing how they make it, understand the story, appreciating, I think that's what spirits are all about. I don't, the people that just start slamming drinks, I don't get that. What I do get is when you start hearing a story. And then Carr and I made a decision to go because I really fell in love with really rye whiskey. And then we came down to visit Goldrain, right? Mr. Goldrain, and Sazerac, and the process was going to not real interested in it and that timing. And then tequila, which is something I knew nothing about 5 years ago, but I've become somewhat of an expert from Carr, friends. And once again, it's not the tequila, it's a story behind what goes into this. And then if you really, and I really highly recommend, I tell that to people all the time, you put this, a non-additive tequila, with one of those tequilas filled with sugar and vanilla, it's not very good. I mean, this is outstanding. Plus, it's healthy. It's somewhat healthy compared to the other stuff. So I learned a lot about it. And Carr, I trust him, obviously. And I see the amount of time and effort and trips he's made to Mexico, the taste of it, the purity of it. I walk into restaurants now or bars and I'll say, where are your non-additive tequilas? And they don't know. And I think we got to change that. That's because if you really, I think that's the new wave of tequila. I hope it is, because it's better. It doesn't wipe you out like the sugar does. And it's a tremendous taste. So that's how I got involved.
Very cool. Very cool. Sounds like an area to exploit there. His story outlines the commercial opportunity perfectly in terms of the bartenders and the restaurants not knowing the difference. So it's an education opportunity for the brand that you can monetize, obviously, by getting market share. Sean, let's toss it to you for a second. You own your own sports marketing company. You've most recently got into the representation business as well. You're an investor in the brand. What are you most excited about for this brand, given your background and expertise and now your involvement directly with the tequila?
I think at the end of the day, you always want to be involved in products that you truly believe in and you support. Whether it's athletes I work with or myself, no one wants to be promoting something that you don't believe in. It's hard to do. And I think every one of us just feels the same way. It's easy to tell people, you got to try this. You're never, none of us have ever put it in front of somebody who's a tequila drinker and didn't get an amazing response.
And so with your sports marketing company, I'm sure you and Carr have some business plans in terms of the steps to start capitalizing on this opportunity. What's the near-term objective from your point of view as far as the sports marketer is concerned with this brand?
I think Carr at the end of the day makes the final decisions, but I think what we believe in with our brand is just organic growth. We're not looking to come in and just throw money at things. We want to put it in people's hands, especially influential people's hands, let them taste it, see if they believe in it, and then let it grow organically. I think Carr came up with a great plan. Year one, we're going into 4 states. We want to go into 4 states and do it right, not try to go into 20 states and do it kind of half-assed. Let's do it right, and let it organically grow. And, one of my jobs is kind of to put it in people's hands, especially influential people, and the response has been amazing. So
fantastic. Josh, anybody here from Louisiana? Okay, so you guys know who Josh is then, right? Okay, so you're representing.
I'm a little old. They might not know.
I mean, they know it, Josh. But you've got your hands involved in, 14 different things at the moment?
Well,
is something like that?
Not that many, but a few. Yeah.
A few, yeah. So how do you fit time in for Los Linderos? Because obviously it's got a great story to tell, and now it's about, really getting that story going.
Yeah. It's been awesome. Like Carr mentioned, we were buddies when we were kids. Our parents were best friends as well with us growing up. He was a Jacksonville, Florida native. He moved to Shreveport, Louisiana, up the road here, 4 hours, but for several years, and we became friends. And then he ended up going to the University of Florida, which was they're both Gators. I got him up here with 3 Gators actually. But I went to LSU, and even during that time, I played some with the Marlins baseball, and we always stayed in touch. And then the SEC championship was always in Atlanta. He lives in Atlanta Country Club, and we would always spend time together. He was always drinking bourbon and whiskey. We always smoked cigars together, but I've been drinking tequila for 25 years. I love tequila. I've seen the evolution of tequila from the bad stuff to now some of the good brands that are out there. And Carr and I would taste test a lot of stuff. Like Urban said, his house is full of amazing products. And it was bourbon and whiskey, and now it's of course tequila. But we would sit there at night and talk about, man, this would be awesome. This would be awesome. Taste this Don Fulano, the Fortaleza, like the cool stuff that's kind of coming into the picture, right? For us, it's been around forever in Mexico, and we fell in love with tequila even more and more as we went along. And then he decided to go down there, and I was like all for it because he had an exit in a business 12, 15 years ago, right? And had been sitting on the sideline, and he had been doing some high-end bourbon sales and some fun stuff just as a hobby. And I knew this guy had some time to put into something that he was passionate about if he ever wanted to do it, right? And so he decided he was going to do it. And I go, this is going to be super fun because we have so much fun together, first of all. And we've all been buddies for a long time. So I knew when they got involved, it was really going to be fun. And just, it kind of mushrooms with great people. And he launched in Georgia. We just launched in Florida. I'm in South Florida. You would think it would be hard to enter Miami market, right? Because of all the brands and the money and the sexiness of the town and everything. And we've been able to penetrate it because the stuff is unbelievable. And it looks good and it's sexy. And so it fits into Miami as well. And also fits into, Cabo. We've got investors in Cabo and other places. But it's amazing tequila. And amazing people are behind it, and Carr's at the top.
That's a perfect segue because, I think when we talked on the phone, Carr, you had mentioned you launched direct to consumer just in August. Yep. I mean, we're talking 5 months ago. Now you're rolling into Florida. You've got a plan for 4 states, I believe you said, in 2025. How does your strategy set yourself up for measured success, right? Because I think the thing to protect against is that quick out of the gate, but then a fall on your face type of experience. You have a slogan, "Go Beyond," I believe. So how does that kind of translate across all your touch points, everything you're doing?
Yeah, so the whole Go Beyond, Linderos translates to border limit, and our Go Beyond campaign is to focus, go beyond your limits. Don't be constrained by anything and go beyond. So we're gonna focus on athletes that have gone beyond, coaches that have gone beyond, charities that have gone beyond. So that's super important for us. The reason why we did 4 states is because it's super important to show traction. Every state has its own set of distributors, and it's a separate contract. So we're actually using RNDC in the state of Georgia, Breakthrough Beverage in the state of Florida, Athens Distributing in the state of Tennessee, and Heidelberg in Ohio. But the goal is get traction there, show that we can move product. You have to activate. So we sell our product 3 times. Sell to the distributor sells it to the bar, restaurant, retailer, and they sell it to the consumer. So we have to be involved. We make our money selling to the distributor, but we have to be involved in all 3 of those phases. And to learn it in 4 states is better than to try to learn it in 20. We don't want to make mistakes in 20 states. We want to make it in 1, 2, maybe 4 at the most, and then make changes.
Yeah, so understood. And part of that 4-stage strategy, like you said, is almost like a baby step mentality. Get it right first, replicate it in the next step, and then go and go. But you have another big project happening in Guadalajara, Mexico. Why don't you share a little bit about what's going on? Because to the audience, Guadalajara, Mexico has nothing to do with the southeast of the United States.
Yeah, so Tequila has done a really good job kind of following the footsteps of Bordeaux and Champagne and Cognac, where it's regionally based. Tequila has to be, the agave can be sourced in a few regions, but it's all done in Jalisco. So that's the state that Guadalajara is in. From Guadalajara, if you look on the back of every tequila bottle, there's a NOM. It's NOM, and it's a 4-digit code. Ours is 1414. 1414 is known to be additive-free tequila, high-quality tequila. Sergio Cruz as a master distiller. That NOM you can search that NOM and see, okay, this tequila is $100 sold by an athlete, and it's $20 in every other brand. So you realize it's not maybe as quality tequila as you thought. So the nom really matters, and that's tied to the distillery that makes it. Most production is done in Arandis, which is where we are, or in Tequila Town. We have put a contract on land at Lake Chapala. Lake Chapala is the largest. It's the largest lake in Mexico. It's also the #1 destination for Mexicans to vacation, and it's also about 40,000 expats or Americans live there. So it's very safe. It's a beautiful lake, and so we have planned to build a distillery, aging warehouses. We'll have a tasting room and then 20 casitas for people to stay. So it'll be a destination. The great thing about Chapala is every restaurant you can think of, from Italian food to obviously authentic Mexican food, everything is at that lake. It's 40 minutes from Guadalajara, so it would be great. Have people fly in, shuttle them down, do a tour. Those that want to stay, we will stay and entertain, and those who need to get back out can get back out. But we would be the first distillery, or will be the first distillery on the lake. So we're excited.
So when is that scheduled to be ready?
Well, we are, hopefully, it'll take about 2 years to build, and we're now going through all the permits. It takes 6 liters of water to make 1 liter of tequila, so it's important to have a well. We've had the water tested, but we still have to get permitted. So there's all those kind of steps. One of our investors, good friend, is a hotel developer in Cabo, and he's helping us through that process.
So how often are you bringing the team down to inspect the site? Not often enough. Well, sounds like, sounds like first thing on the to-do list when we get back to the office is investor trip planning. So you guys just got off the golf course. I don't think the audience knows, but they took a quick ride over from the golf course. Everybody wants to know who won. How'd you hit them?
It's a 2-day event. This guy's leading the tournament.
Your overall tournament. Wow.
Don't go there yet. It's day 1. We have day 2 tomorrow. Don't.
Okay. Who's your competition? Who's on your heels?
The guy second to my left, third. Josh.
Okay.
Second right now, but there's 30-something golfers.
Okay.
This is always halftime adjustments.
Yeah.
This will not be friendly tomorrow.
No. Well, so it depends on how much tequila Josh gets you to drink tonight, right? But it's good news. No
It's
hangover.
not additive, so we're fine.
No hangover. You'll be fine. So in terms of the expansion, the 4 states, you've got Lake Chapala, like we've just discussed. What do you kind of see as the horizon for your brand? Every young brand has a vision. Every young brand has a place that they want to get to. What does that look like for you over the next 5 years?
Well, so we will ramp up pretty quickly. In 2026, we'll add another 8 states, and then also the UK. Our goal is to be an international brand, so we have trademarks for the UK, the EU, Turkey. Believe it or not, South Korea is a big consumer of tequila. So we're looking to be an international brand and grow about that. It's interesting because there's only about 23 states that you want to be in alcohol sales. So that's kind of our map, but to be throughout Europe and then parts of Asia are definitely on our.
Yeah, that's ambitious. Best of luck. Obviously, we want you guys to succeed. You're all involved in the athlete representation or athlete space in some form or fashion, or coaching. How do you see the shifting brand trends of working directly with athletes versus going to properties like the Jets or the Giants or what have you, shaping the way brands are now driving their business? Do you think that's something that's going to continue to capture market share? Obviously, you cannot work in the NIL space because of the rules around alcohol, but that's a good proxy for what we're seeing elsewhere with athletes and coaches. So where do you see this leading for this brand?
Well, again, I don't know that a team can really speak for a brand. You can be the official tequila of the New York Jets, but what does that really mean? Can the Jets?
It means you're losing all the time.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think partnerships with specific people is far more productive. I think you put a face on it.
Yeah.
You have someone who's telling you that they believe in it.
Yeah, there was a session earlier today, and I forgive me for not remembering, but I think it was the FanDuel session where he said if the pitch that we're getting can be any brand logo on the piece of paper, then it's not for us. So obviously for a brand like yours, you got to get it in their hands. And obviously there's legal restrictions with how you do that. So how are you attacking that challenge? Obviously all liquor companies or most liquor companies have their bar team and they go in and they buy shots, but every state is different. So how difficult is that for you from a planning and strategy standpoint to make sure you're keeping pace with that 5-year ambition?
Yeah, and I know we've been told we got to wrap up. Yeah, I mean, the activation and, they call it liquid to lips or sips to lips. That's the whole goal. When you're a new company, you want everybody you can to try it because we feel the majority of people who try it will enjoy it, maybe order it themselves from the bar or, better yet, go buy a whole bottle and share it. So there definitely is a strategy around the getting people to try it. And ultimately, again, you got to sell it 3 times. The ultimate sale is to the consumer. The distributor doesn't reorder it if it's not leaving the shelves or being poured out. So the goal is to get in people's hands.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to finish with a quick rapid fire. We'll go down the line. It's 3 questions. Very, very simple. Who wins on Sunday? Who's the MVP? And who's playing in Santa Clara next year? Coach?
I'm going to step out of the line here. I'm going to say the Chiefs are going to win number 3, and I can't remember that quarterback's name, but he's going to be the MVP. I know the defensive line coach, D coordinator, the coach. A lot of respect for them as a team, the way they handle themselves, and I think it's going to be a street fight. I think the Eagles are. Saquon Barkley, I coached against him for 3 years, and I love that guy, man. He's everything that you want as a football player, but I just think the Chiefs have been there. They know how to prepare for it, and it'll be a good game, but I got the Chiefs close one.
And who's there next year in Santa Clara? What teams?
Next year?
Yeah.
I'm just worried about beating him tomorrow.
Okay, that's all right. Sean, how about you?
All right, so I'm going Chiefs. I'll go outside the box and say you have your second losing MVP in Saquon Barkley.
Nice.
And next year, Lions Bengals.
Whoa, all right.
I'm going to go with the Eagles. And that's because I really like I love their front 7 on defense. Their defensive line can create so much havoc. I think their big boys up front are going to do some damage. The Eagles, I think it's their year. They outgained Kansas City several years ago in the big game and lost. I think they redeemed themselves. Their fans are ready to roll. And I'm going to take a kind of a wild card as MVP, Devontae Smith.
Yeah, all right.
He'll have a couple big touchdowns. And they'll win the game. And it's going to be close, I think, of course, but I like the Eagles. And next year, I love the Lions. I'm a Bills guy, and I love Josh Allen, so I'd love to see them in the big game next year. And I don't care who they play, I'd be rooting for the Bills.
Cool. Very good. Carr?
Yeah, I torn. I do think the Chiefs are going to win. I'm cheering for the Eagles. And Barkley, I think, is going to be tough to stop for sure.
Yeah. Next year?
Lions, Bills.
All right. Well, I think we're out of time for today. We were going to take questions, but I think we're wrapping up. Thanks to the panel for their participation, and thank you guys. See you tomorrow.